God damn, I need IPA.
This is Beering Ain't Easy, your podcast for beer humor, dad humor, and beer tastings from Texas and beyond. So crack one if you got one and turn it up.
All right, everyone, welcome to Beering Ain't Easy with Adam and Drew, the inaugural Season 2, Episode 1.
Season 2, 40 episodes in, and it's time to move on to a different season.
And I think it's fair to say we're just getting started.
Oh, hell yeah, we are. And we're going to start first by expanding the Beering Ain't Easy family.
What?
So you're going to hear a familiar voice, someone who's been on such hot episodes as Houston's best flagship IPA and Houston's best Pilsner. We would like to introduce Ryan, the new member of the Beering Ain't Easy family.
Hey, I heard you guys needed a smoother voice to even out this podcast.
You know, as you've noticed...
don't acknowledge that comment.
Yeah, I just moved right on from the smooth voice.
Well, I wanted to start off by saying
you.
Congratulations, Ryan. I'm sure this is probably the biggest accomplishment of your life.
It really is. I tried to come in hot, and I just am starting off just falling flat on my face.
We'll work on your catchphrase. So we're bringing Ryan on to bring a little more expertise and beer knowledge. Adam and I can only repeat the same shitty beer terms back and forth a few times. We need to bring on someone with a little bit of extra expertise, and that's where you fit in. And this would be the part of the podcast, Ryan, where I would say no pressure at all. But honestly, what I'm going to tell you is the entire fate of this podcast depends on you.
And I'd like you to remember this podcast was fucking thriving prior to your onboarding. So if anything goes south from here on out, you are 100% to blame.
Fall guy.
Yeah, this is a pretty sad bar to be raising. No offense.
All right, before we get any further, I need to crack my beer.
Let's do it. So let's let our new family member of the podcast introduce his beer first. So we're doing a remote podcast today, so we're not all drinking the same beer. So Ryan, let us know what you're working with out there on the north side of HTOWN.
Yeah, so I've made no secret of the fact that I'm a Eureka Heights fan. I have an anniversary beer from last year's anniversary. It's called Six Demon Bag. It's a Belgian strong ale. It's fermented with copious amounts of dark candy sugar and aged in rye whiskey barrels for 9 months. It was canned on July 30th, 2020. I've been holding on to it, waiting for a reason to crack this bad boy open, and I can't think of a better reason than now.
Nice.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah, I just got stuck at copious because that's just a really good word.
Yeah. I was reading the description off the side of the can. I couldn't leave that out. Great descriptor.
So what is the ABV on one of those bad boys?
12%.
Oh, nice. I was trying to see who would come out on top on the ABV today. So I think you may win the battle. So Adam, you want to tell our listeners what you and I are drinking? Super excited about this one.
We have a delightful beer today from one of our favorite breweries, SpindleTap Brewery, and it is Houston Haziest, a triple IPA version of one of my favorite beers, Houston Haze.
They did a Houston Hazier not that long ago, which was a double, and this is the triple version. And I gotta say, this triple, they have knocked this one out of the park. It is just delightful.
This is a fantastic beer. So we had it for the first time at the brewery the other day.
Day one of the release.
And we get to enjoy it again.
Absolutely. So I think now we need to get into talking about season 2 of the podcast. We got some changes. Not only are we bringing on Ryan, but we got some changes to the format. So first I want to do like a quick recap of season 1. So our podcast is all about our love of craft beer, telling dad stories, trying to make you laugh. We got the perfect commute length episodes, and beer terms were crushable, right? That's a good term for our podcast.
Crushable.
If you haven't listened to the episodes, it doesn't really matter what order you go in. You can just pick them at random. Just go binge listen. Go back and hit all the good points. So that part is not changing. We're still going to hit the dad stories. We're still going to talk about craft beer. But we got a little something extra for season 2.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. The one thing about season 1 was we started this thing as a COVID podcast. Adam and I were in the pod together. Our kids were hanging out.
Social distanced.
We were distanced from everybody. So we were doing to-go brewery beers. We were sitting at the comfort of our home in the AC in the suburbs, just throwing shade at beers and our neighbors.
Yeah. And our HOA.
But the listeners need more, Adam. They need more.
I didn't think it was possible to give more to our listeners.
The days of you showing up to this podcast with zero preparation, walking over and asking me what the episode's about are over.
I don't know that I can deliver on that.
That's why we brought in Ryan. So this is where Ryan comes in.
Someone else has to come in and comment that it has that IPA flavor. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's already fitting in. So what we're going to do in season 2 is we're going to take an HTOWN focus. We have set a challenge for ourselves. We've set the bar super high. We've set a radius of 50 miles in the city of Houston, and we are going to go to every single brewery within that 50-mile radius of Houston. We're going to call it the HTOWN Brewery Challenge.
That's a lot to take in.
So I think we need to give a little context. How many breweries is that? How many does that entail?
So right now we're sitting a little upwards of 60 breweries. So these are full-time breweries, but we also included brew pubs that make their own beer. So I'm calling it upwards of 60 because there's home brewers that are popping out into new spots just left and right. I mean, Misfit just opened recently. So we may have to add on as the year goes on. So this is going to be a journey. This isn't a 2-episode thing. This is a full season. It doesn't have to be all 3 of us at the same time. A member of the Beering Ain't Easy family has to go. We have to get a beer on tap. We got to tip that beer tender. We got to support local business, meet all the great beer community of Houston. We got to get out there.
It's happening.
No more of this suburb hiding business, Adam.
I will cover all the suburb breweries, and you two can hit the town.
Hit the rest of them. Out of these 60 plus breweries, we did a little math before the show to see how many of us had been inside, not to go beer, but actually ordered a beer inside one of these breweries. So we'll start with Adam first. How many did you have out of the list?
20.
20. And so I had 18.
Really?
Yes. So not very many.
Wow.
Ryan, where are you sitting?
I'm actually surprised. 34.
Oh, man.
That's it?
So that's the other reason we brought Ryan on the show is we know he can deliver.
Well, he only has one kid, so he has an advantage.
True, my pace has slowed down significantly the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And honestly, if I had to guess prior to actually looking through the list and counting, I would have said, like 20-ish probably. But yeah, so I'm happy.
You get around. Ryan also holds down the north side of Houston while Adam and I are, holding down the south. So we need a little geographic spread. So for folks that don't live in Houston, like 50 miles radius is still like the greater Houston area. I mean,
it's still about the distance between Ryan's house and our house.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we wanted 50 miles because it includes some pretty awesome breweries that are on the fringes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm being used for my location.
No,
that is
absolutely not.
That's a factor. It's not a it's the only factor.
Let's talk about the spreadsheet because there is a spreadsheet involved with this challenge. So Ryan, do you want to talk about the spreadsheet?
Yeah, we created a spreadsheet to track all the breweries that we've gone to or that we're going to go to. We're going to make it publicly available so anyone can check on it, see what we've done, potentially see where we're going to go. So hopefully we can see some people, get some feedback on some other people's thoughts that we can share on the podcast. I think it should be pretty fun.
This spreadsheet, it's on Google Sheets. We're going to put it on our show page on our website, which is crossthestreamsmedia.com. So you'll be able to find both the tracker for how we're doing, as well as a blank copy that you can download and use for yourself and actually keep track. So if you want to join us, definitely download that spreadsheet. If you're going out to breweries and you tag us on social media, we may share your story. If you want to come meet us out there and say hello, we may have like 3 kids running around, but
we may be out there.
Yeah. But I guess just on that note, if you aren't already and you're going to follow us on one platform, follow us on Instagram. That's the best place to find us, at Beering Ain't Easy. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, but Instagram, that's where we're going to drop our pictures. That's where we're going to tell you where we're going to be. That's the best place to follow us to see what's going on and to fully get the full experience of the HTOWN Brewery Challenge. And if you want to use the hashtag HTOWN Brewery Challenge on yours, just use it. Because I've heard that when you create a hashtag, usually no one uses it. So I thought that would be appropriate for a podcast.
It will go viral. No doubt about it.
If you didn't like us now, meet us at one of these breweries and see us in person.
Yeah, so you can hate us in person too. So lastly, on our same website, on crossthestreamsmedia.com, we're going to put some links. There's some really awesome resources out there for these breweries already, whether it's from Beer Chronicle Houston, or we're going to put some maps on there where you can map out your path. So we're going to put it all on the website. Check it out. You'll find a whole lot of good stuff there.
On that note, shout out to Beer Chronicle. They have a really good breakdown of all the Houston breweries. It's a very intricate breakdown of their styles and stuff. We're going to differentiate ourselves a little bit. One of our key things that we're going to talk about is the family friendliness of all these places. I think that's an underrepresented description of all these places, and we think it'd be very helpful for people that are like us, right?
Yeah, we're going to give you the suburban family rundown on, are you going to have a good time with or without your kids at these places?
Yeah, and I mean, where my position is, I'm taking my kids there, regardless of if people want my kids there or not. And so I would like to know the family friendliness, the convenience of me taking my kids. They're coming. It's just a matter of, is it convenient?
Heck yeah. So I think we gave a pretty good picture of season 2. So now I think we need to loosen up a little bit. That was a whole lot of material that we had to get out. And we are a beer and BS podcast. So I think we need a little BS.
All right. So I'm a little salty right now because my neighbor got Yard of the Month. In our HOA, we have a very prestigious award that goes out once a month. It's been both Drew and my dream for our houses to get Yard of the Month.
And in 5 years, we have not achieved that.
Yet. As every day goes on, the probability of us getting it goes down because the neighborhood is growing exponentially. So like when there was 100 houses here, it was feasible that we would get it at some point, but that has come and gone. But my friggin' neighbor got it, and his yard is a weed infestation.
Like, explain to me, because you sent me the picture and I saw it. I was like, this yard looks like shit. So how did they win with the yard looking like that?
So I think what happened is like his yard was like freshly mowed. It must have been freshly mowed. So like you can't really tell all the weeds. And then they do have just like a massive amount of like flowers and shit in like their landscaping.
Oh, so it was landscaping yard of the month.
It was flower bed of the month. I'm no longer calling it Yard of the Month. It is now officially, by my definition, flower bed of the month.
That's a slap in the face to everybody out there grinding in those yards.
Oh, I know. And I mean, his weeds are so bad that now like my yard is turning into a weed fest.
I don't know, Ryan. That sounds a little bit like an excuse to me.
I will bring those.
I think at the next HOA meeting, you need to bring up the potential for a Backyard of the Month award.
Oh boy.
The timing of this is terrible. This is way too late. But I just want to mention that you said we needed to move on to the BS, and without a hesitation, Adam just started talking. He knew that was his cue.
Yeah. That's pretty much what I bring to the podcast.
Everyone on this podcast has a place and a role to fill. We know where Adam fills it. Ryan, is your neighborhood got a yard of the month?
I've heard from the neighbors I've met so far that it is crazy particular. Like, you will get letters from HOA about like the most ridiculous things. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they awarded people for being clean.
See, I wish our neighborhood did that, because then they could send him a letter about his fucking weeds.
That would disqualify him from automatic DQ. I mean, we got to give you an HOA update. So there was someone that got on with regard to the weeds and kind of was a little hot about the fact that he still had weeds in his yard years later. So you want to like fill us in on that one too?
This is why, if you don't live in a subdivision, you need to live in a subdivision just to have access to the Facebook group. Like, that's worth it to me.
Yeah.
And so some guys bitching about like how the developer didn't adequately provide good sod, weed-free sod when they built the houses or whatever. And he's like trying to get like a petition to get the developer to like replace basically all of the grass in the whole neighborhood. Like, I mean, it's just like...
But he wrote it up like it was a class action lawsuit.
Yeah. And then he was like, if you bought a Ford and it stopped working, you'd expect Ford to come in and fix it. I'm like, I'm not really sure I see the analogy here.
I think the words he used that was the type of Bermuda that they chose for the neighborhood was impossible to maintain. That's basically what he said. And so he wanted to get a class action lawsuit together because they put something in that was a lemon law kind of thing. Ryan, you're going to have to let us know when your neighborhood gets on our level.
I've kept my next door address as my house in the city, and it's incredible still. Like yesterday or the day before, I saw a post about someone was asking why there was a U-Haul truck in the bayou.
Mind your own business.
Yeah. Apparently someone stole it and had a police chase and drove it into the bayou and got out and tried to run and got caught.
I'm sensing a theme, though, that you have not joined the dark side yet of the Facebook group in the suburbs yet.
You need to move on, buddy. You're no longer in the city.
I still don't have a Facebook. Next door is where I live my life.
But next door is for city folk, and Facebook is like for the old school middle class family. So I have a scenario that I need to ask y'all about. This is kind of random. So I flew on an airplane for the first time since COVID hit. So that's been a long time since I've actually flown in a plane. And so coming back home, we went to baggage claim. And I walk into the restroom at baggage claim, and they've got their urinals like literally like 6 inches apart. They jam like 6 of them in with no dividers, to where if you're standing next to the person at the urinal next to you, your shirts are touching. Like, that's how close you get. And I feel personally like there should be a building code that specifies a minimum distance between urinals. I don't know what y'all's thoughts are on that.
Where do I start?
I feel like they're relying heavily on the guy code of leaving a urinal in between people.
Yes. Fortunately, Drew
is a dangerous game.
Drew doesn't like to abide by that, apparently.
Okay, so here's the scenario for you. So baggage claim is a busy place, right? So I walk in there. Everybody has already done guy code, right? They have already equally spaced out on the urinals.
So you wait your turn. So you wait your turn.
So you would wait it out.
Yes.
You would not jam in between 2 guys. You would wait it out. That's what I wanted to ask the scenario, because like you really got to pee. You've been on that long flight. You're going to wait it out to where you can get a full urinal separation.
Yeah. Before I'm going to go squeeze in, be touching up on the two guys next to me, I am waiting it out. And I think any reasonable man would do that.
So, like, I took the strategy of I kind of like went towards the edge, and I thought I would only be next to one guy. But then some other homeboy comes up on my other side, so I did get the freaking sandwich of the urinal.
Sandwich.
All I'm saying is that should be against building code. I don't care.
Well, it doesn't need to be if you abide by man urinal code.
Okay, Ryan, I feel like you got a hot take on this. Let's hear it.
So I've flown 3 or 4 times during COVID, so I have a little more experience, I guess, recently than Drew. But I feel like, and you've seen it on the news and stuff too, I feel like the airport has become like a lawless place where all the norms have gone out the window. So like these urinal takes, people don't care. They just butt in. It used to be the rule, you deboard the plane from front to back and everyone kind of waits their turn. I never experienced it as much as I do now. People hopping up and running up the aisle to get as far up as they can before everyone cuts them off. It's crazy. And I don't know what happened, but I feel like people just don't give a shit about the norms anymore. It's weird.
So they're breaking code.
It's one thing to break code when you're exiting an airplane. I don't know that translates and makes Drew's behavior of breaking urinal code acceptable.
So what, here's another scenario. So what if you're in the same scenario as me, but there's an open stall? Do you go to the stall or do you save that for people that really need it? Because I feel like that's always guy code, is you only allow the stall for people that really need it.
You go in the stall and sit down and pee.
You heard it here first. Adam sits down and pees. Check the tapes.
I was holding my breath, ready to agree with Adam, and then he just dropped that bomb.
No, he's not dropping a bomb at all.
I'm not dropping a bomb. No. So you, without a doubt, you go in this stall and you piss. Not sitting down. A traditional piss. I just had to throw that in.
I just can't get past that.
I just had to throw a curveball to keep people entertained.
Sure, you're walking that back. Oh my God. How do you even recover from that?
Well, that way, if someone's walking by, they see your feet, they think that you're not violating any codes. They just assume if.
All right, so I think we need to get in to talking about breweries. So part of this brewery challenge that I didn't explain was that we're going to talk about these breweries one by one, but every episode is not going to be all about Houston breweries. Some of them we still may do our classic experiments and other BS episodes that we throw in from time to time, but we are going to catch up on breweries on a routine basis so you can hear about it. So we actually have quite a few today. I think we have at least 5. And so I'm going to kick it over to Ryan, because Ryan went to a couple on the north side that Adam didn't and I didn't get to. So Ryan, you want to talk about the breweries you hit up?
Sure, yeah. I'll talk about the one I went to yesterday, which is an interesting idea, unique as far as Houston goes. I haven't heard of this happening elsewhere. But so Fortress BeerWorks up in Spring opened up a joint location with Misfit Brewing. It's this... don't quote me on this, but from what I understand, it's a home brewer that's got a good reputation in the industry. It does collabs with some brewers and stuff. They opened up a joint location in Cypress by my house called Misfit Outpost. So their tap list consists of most of, if not all of, the Fortress beers, but they also have like 5 or so Misfit beers. So it's kind of a joint thing. It's an awesome place. They have like a old school bus outfitted with slides and stuff. That's like a kid's play. Like, it's a huge outdoor area. There's a covered area with a stage. They have live music all the time. Place was super cool. The beer was good. I had a Misfit beer. This dude brews interesting stuff. The beer I had was a Berliner Weiss brewed with carrot, orange zest, molasses, and Vietnamese cinnamon. Like a tart beer that had like the cinnamon overtone, but you could get some like citrusy, like the orange flavor, but it had that sweetness, like that richness from the molasses. It was pretty crazy. He also had a hibiscus sour that I didn't get to try, but the place was awesome. He's brewing some really unique, cool stuff. So that was a good time.
Did you go over and see the wall of Misfits?
I didn't even see where that would be, honestly. Like, I was kind of confused.
I was trying to direct Ryan towards this because I saw some cool Instagram pictures. There's someone you should follow on Instagram if you're not already. Hoppy Wonder Woman. She is a blogger and has some connections to Misfits. She helped pick out and procure all their artwork for a wall. And it's a bunch of creepy ass pictures on an entire wall in there. That it's kind of like there was a children's book, a movie that was called like Miss Peregrine's House for Peculiar Children. And it's kind of like that. They're all like creepy, Halloween-y looking, like the Freak Show. I guess Freak Show is the best way. So I saw some pictures and it looked really awesome. So that's why I was trying to direct you towards the wall of Misfits. But
so yeah, the other one I went to today was Craft Beer Cellar, which I know is there's another craft beer cellar down by you guys, which is an incredible place to pick up good beers. But the one up here, they have an in-house brewing system. They call it Stovetop Brewing. So we went there today, and I had a couple beers. I had a hazy and a Vienna lager. They were both good. The hazy IPA, it had that hop burn. I could tell it was fresh. They didn't. They don't have bright tanks or whatever to kind of settle their beers. So they just put it on tap. I could tell it had that hop burn, which I kind of like. It's a kind of a local guy that owns it and runs it. He's always there every time we go. But if we're running the kid-friendly angle, they have some games there, and they're welcome to children. They don't have a playground or a place to play or anything, so I wouldn't say it's catered to children.
So is it more of a beer shop? Yeah. And then do they have like an outdoor area to hang out, or is it more like an indoor, like, hey, you pick up a bunch of beer and then you can come up to the counter and grab a few beers while you're here?
Yeah, so it's in a strip mall, so there's like a breezeway and they have some tables out there to drink in. So it's like half beer shop with a bunch of tables, and there's a bar area. The other half's, like a bar. Anything they have there, you can buy it and drink it there. It's cool. It's interesting. Okay. You don't see a lot of stuff like that.
Nice. I know you went to Fortress as well. Anything, like, I know I've been up to Fortress before, so anything of note to share on that one?
Fortress is huge. Like, it's a big area. They have tons of space, which is good for kids. They have space to move around. There's a back room that has some arcade machines with some classics like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in Time, which
that's a classic right there. I love that.
Very sentimental to me. I love that game. So they have a arcade machine for that. I would say it's kid friendly, but I almost shoved a kid out of the way to play that game.
Hell yeah.
They have a ton of garage doors to open up to outside, so it's like indoor outdoor. They have some big fans inside. So once the weather gets a little bit cooler, it's going to be incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, my in-laws live right up there, so it's been a frequent occurrence up in Spring area. So thanks for those updates, Ryan. So I think we need to pivot over to another pretty epic brewery that we visited in the span, and I'm going to turn it over to Adam to talk about. We returned to SpindleTap because it's one of our favorites of all time. So Adam and I went without kids.
It only made sense that as part of this challenge, the first brewery I went to was my favorite. SpindleTap, of course. So Drew and I went there without the kids just to be able to analyze the situation undistracted. And it did not disappoint.
So you want to give the listeners the vibe of SpindleTap.
So if you've never been to SpindleTap, I'd say it's a pretty family friendly brewery. So they have like a pretty nice tap room with like a lot of tables, has a lots of TVs and whatnot. So a pretty good setup, but it's much better if the weather's nice and you can go outside. So they have like a really big, nice outdoor space. That's perfect for the kids, like a little putt golf area. That's really top notch for the kids.
Yeah, and if you want the full rundown of SpindleTap, you got to go back to our episode from season 1 of the Ultimate Hazy IPA, where we talk about our love of the hazies and SpindleTap in detail. So we won't reiterate all of that, but I will say, like, one of my highlights going there this time was they had all of my favorite SpindleTap beers on sale at the same time, and I was able to do them all in a flight. And it was like the hardest flight of my life to decide which one I liked the most. I had 4 beers and I was like, oh my God, it was neck and neck until the last drop.
Yeah, so if anyone is unfamiliar with SpindleTap, they specialize in hazy IPAs. And I've yet to find a brewery that can stack up with them on hazy IPAs.
On that note, I think like there's something that we got to talk about. Like when we started this podcast, we both had a mutual agreement that there was, when you talk about Untapped ratings up to 5.0, we had both had the mutual agreement that the 5.0 was the unicorn beer. It did not exist. And I noticed that you may have changed your tone there. So you want to explain yourself?
So SpindleTap makes what I consider to be the best beer ever. The Candy Green Hazy Double IPA. And my love of that beer started probably about 2 years ago. The first time I had it, I thought it was amazing. And I rated it a 4.5 on Untapped at that time. Then over the next couple years, I'd had a lot of more hazy IPAs from all across wherever. And I realized I underrated it at 4.5, so I bumped it up to 4.75. And then the other day, I sat there and I pondered, why am I chasing the unicorn when the unicorn is right in front of me? And I made the bold move on Untapped, and I rated the Candy Green a 5.0, and I stand by my decision.
It's a big day for you. I'm proud of you.
It was a big day.
So I'll share one of the breweries that I went to next. It was actually Senate Avenue, which is in Jersey Village. And so I'd never been there before. This was a first-time experience for me, and I actually didn't go with either Adam or Ryan. I actually met up with Dwayne, who's Across the Stream's media homeboy, the Godfather himself. And it was fun. Like the tap room inside was there was a lot of hubbub. It was fun being in there. They had your typical patio tables, but they also had some swings in there, which was kind of unusual. They had kind of a modest outdoor area too. I mean, we brought the baby and it was perfectly fine. So I mean, it's not catered to kids, but it was kid friendly. They had a handful of their beers, and then they had like some really awesome guest taps. So I think when you're not like Behemoth Brewery where you have like 1,000 beers, having some really good beers from other breweries on tap is a plus, because you don't want to walk in and it's like just their 4 beers and that's it, because you want to get a couple flights. And so I did get a couple flights there. Wasn't like a huge fan of their IPAs and light beers, with one exception, their Smoke Show Blonde. It was really good. It had like a blonde ale with like the perfect hint of jalapeno. It wasn't overpowering, but it was really good. But otherwise, I kind of gravitated towards their heavier beers. They had a porter and a stout. And so they kind of went with the theme of senators and politics with their beer names and some of their decor. But I'd like to see them go like all in, balls to the wall, Capitol Hill up in there. It was fun. It had a good vibe in there.
So I know one thing that I really appreciate about Senate Avenue that I haven't seen any other brewery do is you can order, they have the QR codes on the table, which isn't unique, right? But you can actually open a tab on your phone and order through your phone and send the order, and then they bring it to your table, which I haven't seen at any other brewery I've been to. And I thought that was super cool. It was so convenient, and they were fast about it. It was something that I feel like was a COVID thing, but I feel like that should spread to other places.
That should spread by COVID.
So nice.
Was that inappropriate?
No, we'll let it fly. It's been over a year and a half of this. I feel like if we can't crack a joke now, you're never going to be able to crack a joke. Okay. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So last but not least, we got one more brewery on the table to talk about today. This is one that Ryan and I both went to, and it was the Galveston Island Brewery. And so I'll let Ryan take a first crack at what his takeaways were, and then I'll add my color commentary afterwards.
Yeah, so I feel like Drew and I, early on when we first started getting to know each other, we went there and we sat inside, which so the inside is tiny. And we just had a couple beers there and went back. But this time we went, the outside was open. So the outside area at Galveston Island is incredible. There's a ton of cover to get out of the sun, but there's a huge post in the ground playground, like you'd find like a school or whatever. Huge playground for kids to play with gravel, and it's barricaded and everything. They have a new tap room that wasn't open when we went, but it was really, really close to opening, and it's going to increase their space drastically. And it looked super nice. Obviously, we weren't able to go in there and see it, but
I'll just add from what Ryan was saying, the interior space was super modest before. The new tap room looks awesome. It's huge. Looking forward to that. I've always felt like they're solid beers, and I feel like I have to go every time I go to Galveston. So it's definitely a place you should check out when you're down there. I usually get their IPAs, but I did get their coconut Hefeweizen, which I'm a huge coconut fan, so I loved it. But I made Ryan drink it, and he's not the biggest coconut fan in the world, but he drank it begrudgingly.
You'd think you'd be like, oh, the coconut Hefeweizen's really good, you should have it. You'd think I would realize in my head that I'm not a huge coconut fan, but I was like, oh, I trust Drew, and I just got it. And I was like, oh, he's not kidding, it's coconut.
I love coconut, so just bring it on.
Bring it on.
So that's our wrap up of our breweries that we went to. So we'll keep you posted as we hit breweries along the way. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Beering Ain't Easy, and go check out our website at crossthestreamsmedia.com, where you'll find not only our show, but a bunch of other awesome shows to check out. And most importantly, on our show page, you'll find your very own brewery tracker spreadsheet, so you too can join the HTOWN Brewery Challenge. You want to send us home, Adam?
Well, I think everyone knows what to expect with season 2, and we'll see y'all next time.
This has been a Beering Ain't Easy production in Houston, Texas. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram. And if you want to see what we're drinking, our untapped handles are Beering Ain't Easy Adam and Beering Ain't Easy Drew.
This has been a Cross the Streams Media Podcast.